Hi, I'm Em. I'm just gonna get straight on with it because honestly I have attempted to film this video so many times now and I think I'm just putting too much pressure on myself and just stressing. Basically, hi, I am Em. I wanted to introduce myself today as hopefully your newest member of the booktube community. I was gonna do the newbie tag, but I think that's what's throwing me off. If you want to see a full newbie tag, then do just let me know and I'll be happy to film it. I don't even know if anyone's going to see this yet, so I'm just going to get on with it. I guess why I wanted to start this channel is I kind of accidentally moved to the other side of the world about 6 months ago now. I'm now currently in Australia. I'm from just outside of London, if you can't tell by the accent, and I moved from just outside of London to Australia. And to be completely honest with you, it's been fun and it's been great, but it's really lonely. And I know everyone's scared of that word, but I'm feeling it, to be honest. I'm on the other side of the world. Everyone pretty much that I care about is back home. I guess I just needed to know that the world's a little wider than my small corner of it right now, which is crazy because I'm what, 10,000 more, just a little bit more than 10,000 miles away from home right now. Put it that way, I'm feeling the distance. So I guess I just wanted a space to talk to some people about some books, and maybe I'm not the only one feeling that way right now, so I thought it might be fun. I moved out here and now pretty much all I'm doing is reading, so I just figured that maybe I could talk about my favourite books from last year, and maybe you can get a little recommendation from me. But yeah, I've got 5 books. I didn't read loads last year. It's Green Dot by Madeline Gray, and I'm pretty sure that this is just an Aussie, it's being released over here. I don't know, I've not seen it anywhere else. The only reviews I've seen for this have been over here in Australia. It was everywhere for a while, and do you know what, I'm gonna give it a go, because when I was getting out of my reading slump, I read a lot of romance, because they're perfect for beach reads. Take in the surroundings and just have a nice, easy book to read. But I've got a lot of lit fics that are on my physical TBR right now, and I'm going to be reading more of those this year because I did love the ones that I read. But anyway, so if you've not heard about it before, it is about a girl who's about my age. I think she's 23. She starts working her first, I think it's her first ever job. It's a corporate office job, and she ends up, I'm not going to give away any spoilers or anything, but she ends up getting into an entanglement with a man she probably shouldn't, who's a little bit older, and he's married. That is all I will say about it, because I do just recommend this book so much. If this was to happen, it just seems really realistic. I loved this book actually. I think if you've been in love, I think you would like this book. And in a way, it's just so all-consuming. It's not a healthy attachment, but Madeline Gray has a way of articulating those feelings really well, to the point where obviously you don't agree what she's doing, but I found myself completely empathizing with her in the situation. I don't know, you just got to read it. I just loved it. It was a great read. Her humour as well is brilliant. It may not be your cup of tea, but it reminds me a lot of British humour, so I loved it. But yeah, that is Green Dot by Madeline Gray, and I loved it. Next up, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I had not read this, and it lives up to the hype. I absolutely think it lives up to the hype. I was really intrigued to read it because I'd heard so much about it. I'd seen it everywhere. I know Taylor Jenkins Reid is also a big TikTok author. I've seen her books everywhere. And then I read this and I was like, I see why everyone's talking about it now. I love the story. I didn't think that 1950s Hollywood would be my sort of thing. But learning about that world was just fascinating. Like, just the concept of it was just really, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So yeah, if you haven't read this, then I would recommend it. Next up, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This came out years ago now. I think she's Scottish or British, maybe. But so I saw this years ago. I know my mum read it. And I remember seeing it on bookshelves a long time ago. Again, from the blurb, it's not really something that I'd usually lean towards, but I loved this book. Eleanor Oliphant is, well, she's obviously not completely fine. In terms of reviews for this book, I've seen about 50-50. People talking about that they don't like it, that they found the character insufferable, that she was just unlikable, and I get that, but in my head I was kind of like, is that not just because she's traumatised though? It doesn't make certain things okay, but when I read it I just found it almost impossible not to empathise with her. I just felt for her so deeply. You might not like this book. The humour in it as well. It's very British humour, and some of the reviews I've heard people say that they didn't enjoy it. I loved it, and I would probably read it again. It's a good book. Oh, just lastly as well, for this book, trigger warnings. I would definitely look up trigger warnings when I read, especially if it was months ago. I do, like, I've got the memory of a goldfish. Doesn't mean that they're bad books or that they're necessarily forgettable. I just have the worst memory. But yeah, definitely look up the trigger warnings for this book if you are planning on reading it. But other than that, good to go. Yes, Before You Knew My Name. I hadn't heard anything about this. I remember picking this up a few times before I actually went and bought it, and I'm so glad I did, because it was such a good book. It was feminist, it was a thriller, it was mystery, it was so much in one, and I did not expect to like it. And this one as well, check the trigger warnings, there's a lot of heavy topics in this. It's about a girl, she's 18 and she moves to New York. She doesn't have any parents really or anything, she kind of moves on her own to just escape. And she ends up being murdered by someone. Almost the premise of the book is she's leading you up to telling who it is who killed her. It's got like a dual point of view. It's from the point of view of the woman who found her, and also Alice, who is the girl who passed away in this book. I heard someone say something is similar to The Lovely Bones. If you've read that, I've not read it, but I've seen the film and I know what it's about. So yeah, it is a very heavy book, but what I loved about this is I feel like, especially nowadays, and people's obsession with true crime, and don't get me wrong, I understand why, it's all really interesting, and once upon a time I was one of those people as well who studied a lot of the cases, and while that's important, I also think it's just as important to point out, like this book does, that more often than not, when we're looking at these cases of these girls, these young women, it's so much so about their final moments and the gruesomeness of that, and all the horrible, harrowing parts of like the last few terrifying minutes of their lives, and not actually about who the people were and who those victims were in their lives. And that word as well, victim, is just adds to my point even more, the fact that they are just reduced to this victim of a harrowing crime, when they were people, and they had lives and friends and interests, the things that they liked to eat for breakfast in the morning. They were living and breathing people. That's what I loved about this book. For me, it read like a thriller. It's definitely probably not a beach read, but I couldn't put it down. I just had to find out not only what happened, but again, I'm undermining myself here because you want to know what happened, but it made me sob, it made me cry, it made me feel so much. It's just a dangerous world out there, and you just never know what's going to happen, and it's just, I don't know, it really hit me, this book, and I loved it. If you ever see it, pick it up and give it a go. Lastly, for my final book, Happy Place by Emily Henry. I love this book as well. This was the perfect beach read. Absolutely perfect. Also, as well, honourable mention to one of her other books, Beach Read. As the name suggested, it was perfect companion to take with you to the beach and just relax. But as for this one, this is about a group of friends, basically, who have been friends for like since uni or college or whatever you want to call it, who have lived together at certain points, and they reunite every year at a beach house. Two main characters, again, I won't spoil it, but they have actually broken up, and they decided easier for everyone else if they just pretend that they've stayed together, so no one's asking too many questions. They don't want to ruin this whole little setup that they have. Kind of like it's a second chance romance, I think. But yeah, I loved it. I loved the friendships in it. Just the girlfriends in the group, but reminded me quite a lot of a couple of my really close friends back at home, and it made me miss them more. It's just, I don't know, I guess there's a comment as well on trying to navigate adulthood while maintaining like friendships that you've grown up with as well, I guess. And yeah, I loved it. I wasn't sure if I'd really like it. I loved it. I loved the complexity of the characters as well. Like, they all have so much depth, and there's just so much that just isn't said, and like it's a lot about miscommunication and getting that second chance. Read it if you haven't already, but I would definitely be reading the other two. But yeah, other than that, so those are my 5 favourite books for 2023. I'm definitely going to be reading more this year, and if you'd like to keep on track with what I'm reading and make a YouTube friend and talk about some books, then yeah, comment below and I'll post another video. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day and you take care of your mental health today. Bye.